Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss a story that's both heartbreaking and incredibly important. Did you know that every minute nearly 20 people are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States? One such person was Tiana Notice, a bright and ambitious young woman whose life was tragically cut short due to domestic violence. Her story highlights critical issues in our system that need to change. Tiana Notice was born in 1983 in Connecticut, growing up in the small town of Plainville. She was the kind of person who lit up every room she walked into, a radiant smile, a contagious laugh, and a heart full of kindness. Tiana was incredibly close with her family, who always encouraged her to chase her dreams. Education was a big part of Tiana's life. She attended the University of Hartford, where she earned her bachelor's degree in political science. She went on to obtain a master's degree in communications from Clark University. Friends described Tiana as compassionate, driven, and always ready to lend a helping hand. She had big plans and an even bigger heart. In 2007, Tiana crossed paths with James Carter through mutual friends. At first, James appeared charming and attentive. He was witty, seemed genuinely interested in her life, and the two quickly formed a connection. Their relationship started off like any other. Dinners at cozy restaurants, strolls in the park, endless conversations about hopes and dreams. But as time went on, subtle changes began to surface. James started showing signs of jealousy and possessiveness. He'd question her about who she was texting or why she wanted to hang out with friends without him. At first, Tiana thought these were just signs of him caring deeply for her. But soon, the red flags became harder to ignore. James would get angry over small things, accuse her of not being committed, and tried to isolate her from her loved ones. Unfortunately, the situation only worsened. When Tiana decided to end the relationship, James didn't take it well. He became increasingly aggressive, refusing to accept the breakup. He started stalking her, showing up unannounced at her job, her home, even at friends' houses. He bombarded her with incessant calls, texts, and emails, many of which were threatening. In one message, he wrote, "If I can't have you, no one can." Tiana was living in constant fear, looking over her shoulder wherever she went. One night, she found her car vandalized, tires slashed, and windows broken. Determined to protect herself, Tiana began documenting every incident. Tiana reached out to the police multiple times, each time more desperate than the last. She filed reports, presented her meticulously kept evidence, and secured a restraining order against James. Despite her pleas, the responses she received were less than reassuring. Law enforcement often told her that unless there was immediate danger or physical harm, their hands were tied. The restraining order, which was supposed to offer a layer of protection, seemed to be just a piece of paper to James. He violated it repeatedly without facing immediate consequences. On February 14, 2009, Valentine's Day, a day meant for celebrating love turned into a nightmare. Tiana was heading home to her apartment in Plainville after spending the day running errands. As she approached her front door, James emerged from the shadows. He attacked her with a knife, inflicting multiple stab wounds. Despite the quick response from emergency services, Tiana's injuries were too severe. She was rushed to the hospital, but tragically, she didn't survive. The news of Tiana's death devastated her family, friends, and the entire community. A bright light had been extinguished, leaving behind unanswered questions and overwhelming grief. James Carter was swiftly arrested and charged with Tiana's murder. During the trial, the mountain of evidence painted a clear picture of his relentless harassment and dangerous obsession. The prosecution highlighted the systemic failures that allowed James to continue his abuse unchecked. In 2011, he was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to 60 years in prison. Tiana's family delivered emotional impact statements during the sentencing. They spoke of her dreams, her kindness, and the devastation of losing her. Tiana's tragic death brought to light significant shortcomings in how domestic violence cases are handled. Many questioned why the restraining order wasn't enforced more rigorously. Public trust in the system wavered. People began demanding accountability and changes to policies regarding how threats and restraining order violations are addressed. In response to the outcry, Connecticut took action. The The state reviewed its laws related to domestic violence, focusing on the enforcement of restraining orders and how threats are assessed. Tiana's law became a symbol of these efforts. This law aimed to ensure that restraining orders were taken seriously and that violations led to immediate consequences. Tiana's family became advocates for change. They worked closely with lawmakers and organizations to push these legislative efforts forward. Tiana's memory lives on through various initiatives and memorials. Scholarships in her name have been established, supporting students who share her passion for making a difference. Her friends and family continue to celebrate her life, sharing stories of her kindness, her laughter, and her unwavering spirit. They hold events to raise awareness about domestic violence. Tiana Notice's story is a poignant reminder of the devastating effects of domestic violence and the critical need for systemic change. It's a call to action for all of us to listen more closely, act more swiftly. What can we do? Let's start by educating ourselves about the signs of abuse and the resources available. Support local organizations that assist victims of domestic violence. Thank you for spending time with me today to honor Tiana's memory. Let's work together to create a world where stories like Tiana's are a thing of the past.